to get started into today's topic. So the objective of passing, right? When you think of like passing your turn, what does it do? It basically forces your opponent to either pass back and lose the turn, or he basically has to play something in response, or else he might burn more mana than you. It really depends on what's the situation on board and how much mana you both have. But basically, you force the opponent to play something. So if he has more mana than you and he doesn't play something and he passes back, he loses mana, right? You basically gain value from passing just because of the fact that like either you're gonna burn more of his mana or he has to play something and you gain value from that information about what he played so you can play something of yours in response. What does that mean, right? If he spent mana on a unit or on a spell just because you passed so he played something, that means you have more options. You understand that, like, okay, he had, for example, 7 mana and now he has 5, right? He has less options now. So you are more comfortable, more free in your choice of what you're gonna play in response. So it really depends on what deck you are playing and the situation on board if you want to pass or not. So if you're playing aggressive, in general, you should be the one that's playing more and not utilizing the option to pass too much as you would when you're actually playing a control deck. Um, so basically, um, sometimes you would rather want to open attack because of the fact that like you could potentially have more things on the board already, and the problem is if you develop, the opponent always has the advantage, right? So depending on what, no matter what you play, right? If you have 3 mana and the opponent has 3 mana, the opponent has the advantage. Why? Because, for example, I have 3 mana, I play a unit. No matter which unit I play, the opponent is playing something in response. So he can either play a unit or play a spell in response. But whatever you play, he is the one that sees what you played, so he can choose what to play in response, and he basically chooses how to block, unless you have a challenger unit, of course. So if you do not have a challenger unit, basically he's choosing which blocker to put on board or which spell to use in response. So he's the one having the advantage because you played something, so you gave him the information, and that's pretty much how I usually explain it. So he chooses what to put down in response to you developing, as well as to he chooses what to block, where to block, and what unit to actually play. Um, So yeah, let's get into some examples, right? So this first example is very straightforward, very stupid maybe in a way. So basically, I'm playing a discard deck. I mean, I played my Draven Boy on turn 1, right? So I want to have Draven on turn 3. We're pretty much playing on curve, right? One, two, three drop, and then with Draven Axe, I can discard something, the whatever it's called, unless the little boy discards it first and stuff like that. Right, I'm playing on curve, basically what's happening here. So it's turn 2. I have the attack token. I could open attack and deal 2 damage, but it's not guaranteed, right? He could have Make a Rain. But the value for Make a Rain is not too high. He's literally only killing one unit that it's attacking. But the problem is, if I play my 2 drop, and that means that he can play something in response, right? So when deciding about developing a 2 drop, you have to understand, am I playing the aggressive deck? As well as the fact, like, depending on what my matchup, what the opponent is playing, what units could he play in response to this that could punish me for developing more than open attacking, right?
I know.
What?
The spider.
Yeah, basically. So that's a big problem, right? If I play my 2 drop and he plays a spider, my complete attack is negated. If I attack only with the 2-1, he defends with the spider that is 1-1. So I'm losing value by attacking. If I attack with both of my units, they both die. I'm losing value by attacking. If I attack only with the 2-2, he's defending with the spider that's 2-2, and the other one survives. So basically, developing here doesn't seem like a good idea, even though make it rain um, doesn't punish you too much, but it does basically stop your open attack, right? Ne mogu.
Yes.
Ne mogu. So basically, it's just a pretty simple example, but I open attacked, he took 2 damage, and he passed. So he played nothing, right? But since we're actually playing the aggressive deck here, I also play my 2 drop, of course, even though he could play, for example, the barrel lady guy. I don't know, the 2 drop that creates a barrel. So
Backhand.
yeah. So the Make It Rain would actually do 2 damage if he would have it and just kill both of my units and deal 2 damage to the Nexus. But since I'm the aggressor in this matchup, I have to play it, right? But the good thing is also that even though if I play it and he has it, he can only play Make It Rain next turn. So I'm getting the value from the 2 drop, discarding my 1 and drawing me another card. So even if he would have it, it's not really punishing me too hard. Okay, so um that's basically what happened that game, right? Um so next matchup. We're playing a deck that's like Noxus PNZ, right? We're playing a pretty much like mid-range aggro deck. And he's playing Twisted Fate Teemo. We do not understand fully what's the matchup because like Twisted Fate Teemo, you do not understand 100% what he's playing unless you guys actually see more people playing Twisted Fate Teemo, but I haven't. So, right, we have 5 mana, okay? So we can play the spell that does pretty much nothing. We can play Vi, and that's it because we only have 5 mana. We can play a 1 drop and a 4 drop. We can play 4 drop with a spell. And that's pretty much all our options, right? Either Vi or a 4 drop and a 1 drop, or potentially the 1 mana spell together with the 4 drop. So, one thing that I'm gonna mention that I always do is like when you're not sure, try to do a soft pass. What I mean by soft pass is not actually passing a turn completely because the opponent might pass and you lose the attack token, and while you're aggressive, you cannot do that. Sometimes you can soft pass by playing a unit that costs 1 mana, right? You play a cheap unit that makes you still be able to have a lot of options, so you can then decide what to play next depending on what your opponent played. In this one case scenario, that is a bad idea. Because if we play our 1 drop, Make It Rain kills both of them and deals 1 damage to Nexus. So playing the 1 drop here is bad, right? If we play Vi, that's all we're playing, that's the end of our turn, right? So in this current scenario, I feel like playing the 4 drop is the correct play because we do not want to play with the 1 drop Make It Rain completely punishes it. We cannot play the 2 drop because it kills our ballista. It's a terrible play. We If we play Vi, it could fend off one thing to the side and just we could deal potential 4 damage unless he plays another thing. So Vi could be something to consider, but in
It's
a
slower. It's
yeah,
less aggressive than Vi.
it's pretty slow, right? We want to play aggressive, right? So the 4 mana overwhelm unit, it's too strong to not play. So we basically, the best choice is to play the 4 drop and then continue with the 1 drop, or potentially even using the spell, but we do not need to use the spell in this current scenario. So yeah. Okay, next
So the
scenario.
solution was to not pass, to do an action.
Yes, because we are playing the aggressor, right? And if we play the
Okay.
1 drop, it Make It Rain completely punishes it. Vi is too slow. So playing the 4 drop into the 1 drop, I mean, depending on what he plays, but 4 drop is the one to start off with. And then we continue with the one drop or the spell, but here the one drop is probably the correct play and just do more damage.
Okay.
So next example is pretty simple. We have 3 mana, he has 3 mana, right? That's pretty much it. We can play a 3 drop, but he can also play a 3 drop. And what I said is the defender is the one having the advantage if we develop here. Our 3 drop is really strong. A ballista for 3 overwhelm, it can survive a lot of things. The problem is you have to look at your matchup. Depend like if you want to develop or not, right? Because if we attack, he can do Death's Hand. We're looking at Noxus. He maybe has Death's Hand. He can do 2 damage and kill it. And then we develop our 3 drop and we cannot attack with it because we already spent our attack token. The problem is that if we develop, we look at what he's playing. Noxus Bilgewater. He can play the Spider, which doesn't really block too well. So we're fine if he plays the Spider. But if he has the Bilgewater 3 cost card, which is the 3 mana 3/2 that summons another 1 cost unit, it completely destroys our attack, right? Because the 3/2 defense versus ballista, ballista dies, and the 1 drop can often have to attack to actually kill our 3/2, so our entire attack is completely stopped. Yes, we will do like a little bit of overwhelm damage, so we're effectively doing like 2 overwhelm damage with the ballista and 1 damage with the dying effect of our bomber, but it's 3 damage and he's using 1 card in exchange for 2, and we're playing the aggro deck, right? If we're trading 2 cards for 1 in an aggro deck and our board dies this turn, we're losing. We're not in a good position, right? So actually open attacking here is definitely the correct play. Even though like you're playing the aggro and you should usually try to develop and deal as much as damage possible, I feel like the open attack here is definitely the correct play, just by looking at the matchup. Yeah?
But I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
He, out of all the options, he has an answer to shut down each of your attacks. So why this particular play is the one we want to risk?
So, when we consider the fact that like if he has Death's Hand, it shuts our attack like this. If we develop and he plays the 3 drop, it also shuts down our attack. Why I feel like actually open attacking here could be better than playing our ballista is that if we're um, open attacking, he's using the spell, right? And he's just killing our bomber, and that's pretty much end of the turn. And then we just can play our 3 drop, but it's not attacking, which is pretty shitty, but yeah. The thing is, I feel like I'd rather take the trade of just losing a unit and not attacking with the ballista rather than actually potentially um,
Losing your board.
developing is because like we're trading 1 card for 1 card. If we're playing our
Yeah.
ballista, we're trading 2 cards for 1. So like considering the fact that like he can shut down our attack in both scenarios, but in the scenario where we don't develop, he shuts down our attack, yes, but it's 1 card for 1 card. It's not 2 card for 1.
Okay.
So that's pretty much it. Just going for pure value trades, like pure value. Like I don't want to lose 2 cards for 1. I'd rather lose 1 card for 1. And the logic behind that is like this is not a complete aggro deck, right? If we're playing a complete aggro deck, we sort of try to ignore that and more go
This is
more
like a
for
mid grow.
yeah, this is a mid-range aggro, so sometimes you want to go for some value trades, as well as the fact that like Death's Hand in this situation we have Noxian Fervor. So if we really want to go for that aggressive play, we can ignore the Death's Hand because we have Noxian Fervor and we can deal 3 extra damage. So like even if he would have Death's Hand, we would get punished less in this scenario than developing. If we would not have Noxian Fervor, then it would be like maybe potentially okay to develop. But with Noxian Fervor 100%, I think that it's better just to open attack. Okay. So next example, what I'm gonna start off with is a control deck. What are we playing here? I mean, we're not playing, right? We're not roping. It's just a theoretical roping, okay? So we're playing control deck. Can you guys hear me? I got disconnected. I love this. Yeah. Bye. God damn it. Dun, 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 I love my computer. Okay, so time to connect back. Bum, bum, bum. I'm really sorry about this, guys. But having
He's
normal.
talking on
Yeah,
stream.
sorry about that, guys. Really sorry about that, guys. I don't know. Just having a normal computer, normal stuff, it's too hard, right? It's too hard. Okay, so I'm sharing back again.
Just
Mm-hmm.
just something I wanted to say. If you can maybe start talking in terms of tempo versus value,
Mm-hmm.
like include these terms more.
Okay, sure.
I also had like one very quick question about the last situation.
Yes.
No need to go back with the picture. Would you still stick to that play if the opponent was on a lot less HP, if you're trying to go for the final push, or would you just say fuck it and try to go for as much damage as possible at that point? Like,
Okay, so
hope he doesn't have the 3-drop, and if he does, you at least get 3 damage in.
right, if your opponent is lower on HP, then you sort of consider the fact that our opponent was in that scenario Bilgewater Noxus. So those regions have no healing, right? So
Yeah.
if they have no healing, their Nexus HP is that's it. Like if it goes below 10, it cannot go back. That's it. Like so the value from damaging his Nexus is higher in a deck where he has no healing. So for example, if your opponent is like in a lower Nexus HP, like for example 10 HP, uh, and yes, he could have the 3-drop that punishes us and goes for that 2-1 trade. I would still develop there because it's a different scenario. If we're playing an early game and the opponent is on 17 HP, like in this scenario, then we do not care so much about just trying to kill him as fast as possible because we're not a 100% aggro deck. We're a mid-range aggro deck. So a mid-range aggro deck sometimes go for some value trades instead of going pure aggro, pure face. So if he would be on lower HP, then yes, I would tend to develop and just try to get as most damage as possible. Because if he doesn't have the answer, we're dealing a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And that's our
That's what I
main
was
goal.
thinking.
If the opponent is lower on HP, our main goal is just get him down, kill him as fast as possible. That's it. There's no consideration about it. There's no consideration about like, oh, maybe I should just go for value trades. No, if your opponent is on low HP, you don't go for value trades. You go for that face. You go kill him. You know?
All right.
If your opponent is weak, take the advantage, destroy him while you can. So yeah, this deck is Spooky Karma. You guys have heard it or seen it or whatever. So we're sort of playing a deck that's like control, and we're playing versus Ash Sejuani. So I feel like Spooky Karma is really strong versus Ash Sejuani, and looking at the board, the opponent has the attack token. He played an Omen Hook. He has still 3 mana left to go. And we have 5 mana. So if we pass and he passes back and does not attack, we're losing 1 mana more than he is. But like we do not care about 1 mana while we are the control deck. We're the one that is playing slower than the opponent. If you're playing control, you're the deck that's slower, right? You have to control the board. You do not care even so much about your Nexus HP, especially in Spooky Karma, which has a ton of healing. Especially when she levels up, you have double of the spells of healing. it's crazy how much you can heal. So like even if you go to 5 HP, especially versus Sejuani that doesn't have direct damage to the Nexus, unless he has units. Like if you're playing versus Demacia, unless it's Noxus, but like if it's standard Demacia or it's Sejuani, Ash, they don't have direct damage. They just have units. So taking damage to Nexus is a spooky combo. You can use your Nexus HP as a resource. You do not care if you go down to 17, 15, 10, as long as you're not going really low, right? So here, I could use Grasp and kill the 3-3, but Grasp is something you want to keep for like Ash or something, right? You don't want to use it for a 3-3. Veil doesn't give you value here, it just kills the Omen Hawk. Do you care about an Omen Hawk? No, you don't. You could play the Assassin here, and it's like it could be considered not a misplay, but like we're the control deck here. So did we talk about passing? Passing gives the value to the person that is responding. And we're playing a control deck, so we want to be the ones that's actually responding and not making the plays. If we pass here, even if he doesn't develop or something, he's 100% attacking with the 3-3. It value trades into both of the units properly. It just kills the spider or kills the assassin. There's no reason for him not to attack here, right? So basically, passing here is what I did and what I considered a correct play. Why? Because if he doesn't attack, you're still fine. He's the deck that actually is the one that has to close out the game as fast as possible, sort of, because you're the control deck. If you get to 10, you can just start healing, you can play Ruination, you can destroy him. So what I did is I actually passed. And he played the 5-1, which is a hard misplay if he doesn't have Elixir to give it HP, right? If he does have the Elixir, that is actually a bit of an issue because of the fact that then it comes to 3 HP. So even if we do Veil, it survives at 2 HP. So it can actually cook our Assassin, kill it, and still get like good trades here, and it can still survive, right? But basically, because we are the control deck, we passed. This is what happened. I played Veil, and it actually died. He didn't have a response. So later on, what happened? It was turn 6. He played Sejuani.
Wait,
yeah,
just
sorry.
a moment. Why not pass again, for example? What can happen?
So, passing here is like most likely he would attack, right?
Yes.
But if we let him to attack, if we pass, he could potentially not attack and actually pass back, which rarely happens, but he could do it. And I feel like there's nothing from stopping us to just play Veil at this point. He has 1 mana. What is he gonna do? Play another Omen Hawk? Even if he plays it, it's fine. What are you losing here by not playing Veil? Like, what are you gaining from passing for the second time? We passed.
I mean,
we passed for the
if
first time, so he
yes.
plays this basically.
Basically, he can counter your 5 mana play with 1 mana. So, do we not care about that?
Yeah, that's what I was also thinking.
But even if he plays the elixir, it doesn't matter if you do Veil now or when he's attacking, because even if he does it when attacking, it still survives, right? What's the difference in the scenario when he's attacking or using it now? There's no difference.
actually-
So
It's less
making him use it,
favorable for him on defense, I think, to use it.
so making him use it preemptively is probably better for you, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. Like, we force him to attack and hook the Shadow Assassin, and if he does that and doesn't use the elixir, I think we kind of like the trade. And if he does use it, we can still wail, or like we wouldn't want to whale at all because it doesn't really do anything, and we miss out on the healing. We don't only kill the Omen Hawk with it. I'm not sure if I would whale there, but I could be wrong.
Well, the thing is, considering the fact that like this is ladder and not a tournament, in ladder I don't expect people to actually play this deck well because it's Ash Sejuani. It's the most common deck that people pilot. Everybody's piling it, and people don't know how to play it. That's my honest opinion, and that's literally what happens on ladder all the time. So this guy actually played the 2-drop without having elixir, without having any answer to my veil, which was pretty a really bad play. If we're talking about like a tournament standard, there's no way that he would play this without a backup spell. Then yes, preemptive veil could be bad, but like even so, if he would attack, the only difference would be the potential of him having the 1 mana freeze that he would then use while attacking, but nobody, if we're talking about a tournament player, he would not use it. He would not use it because he knows that we would have something in response. So he would be losing another spell for nothing. Trust me. Like, you're comparing a tournament player that is not often gonna be in ladder unless you're actually high master LP. Or while in ladder most of the time you're just gonna find players that do not know how to play the deck correctly. But yeah, usually yes, he would punish you with elixir, yes.
So
But
I guess we're kind of just assuming that he misplayed and going around that in like kind of a weird example here.
yeah, but basically, no matter what, if he has elixir, it's still surviving no matter what, and it's killing your assassin. So even if you do veil now or later, it doesn't really change the scenario, change the situation.
Okay.
By the way, if he had an elixir and he survived with his free and his Glory Seeker, would you be trading your spider into free too?
No. Like trading the spider here, what does it give you? It doesn't really give you much. Like you're taking 3 damage that you can heal off at any point of the time in the game. Yes, it does give him 1 tick of Sejuani leveling up, but his main win condition is just Ash. It's never Sejuani. Like Sejuani is leveling up, it's really not gonna impact the game. Like it's gonna be 1 out of 10,000 that you letting level 1 tick of Sejuani level up is gonna impact the game. Like it's rarely ever gonna happen, like ever. So like taking the 3 damage is completely fine here, especially playing a control deck such as Spooky
Okay,
Karma.
but I really don't want to make it more complicated than it has to be, but in that case, shouldn't we especially be waiting for the Veil because it saves us 2 HP if we Veil after he attacks?
But what do you mean after he attacks? Because if he's hooking a unit of yours, I mean, he probably wouldn't hook then. So yeah, passing here could be fine. But like, it was just like, I do not want to lose all the mana at this current situation, even though I could just pass here. So yeah, it could be a proper play. Yes, if you're asking like, why not just pass? I do agree that it's a good play as well. Yes.
Yeah, so I guess we're back to square zero where we just say, okay, that would be more efficient, and we just think he probably misplayed, and that way we can abuse it.
Yeah, basically both options are fine in my opinion. Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, but yeah.
And no worries. I just wanted to make sure that I'm not
No,
thinking of
no.
another stupid play or something
No,
like that.
no, you're
that
actually
I'm making a mistake
no,
here.
you're giving off a good comment. Definitely, like it's definitely a good way to think. So yeah, skipping on to the turn 6, he plays Sejuani. Like we have a lot of options here, right? So we could let him kill our trash and play Karma and get the value of Karma, creating a card and stuff like that. Second option is we could let him attack, kill it, open attack with our Shadow Assassin just to pass the turn, hoping he plays something, we play Ruination, kill everything on board. Third option is we pass, let him attack, see if Sejuani would hook the trash or something, potentially maybe consider using Volfaioni as well. So basically we have a lot of options, right? In this current scenario, considering that he has only 4 cards in hand, and considering he's not a bad player, so he's most likely gonna hook the trash with the Avarosan Sentry, so Sejuani can attack on the side with having Overwhelm, so even if I defend with Spider, I'm getting 0 value from it. So Sejuani is just doing 5 damage or 3 if I defend with the Shadow Assassin, which is also not good. So basically what I did is obviously pass, because no matter what he's attacking, right? And there's no point of not just passing. What he did is he hooked my trash with the Avarosan, which is expected. The problem is if I do Wolf Ionia, yes, trash will survive. I can potentially maybe level him up, but the problem is he's gonna play the Sentry again and buff everything in his deck +1 again. So using Vilfaioni on the Avarosan is bad. Using it on the Sejuani, we don't care as much anyways, because we can take the 5 damage. So it leaves us with the fact that we have to let Trash die here. We just cannot save him. Okay. So what I did is I just passed, let my Trash die, and I played my 3-drop, the second assassin, just to get more cards, more options, and to bank 3 mana. We can still play Ruination later on if he develops and stuff like that. So what happened is that okay, I skipped a bit because nothing special happened. I did not how did I play Ruination here? Sorry guys. Oh wow, it actually gave me, I don't know. Either way, what happened... Yo, what the hell is happening? Is this a different game? I'm really sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
it is.
Because
It's
it's
a
like...
different opponent.
Yeah, this is a different opponent. Yikes. Okay, either way, I guess nothing special happened after I played the Shadow Assassin. The opponent just misplayed or something, and I just played Ruination, and that's it. It was nothing, not a good example to take. But
This is
basically,
the same game.
this is
It
still the
looks like
same
you did
game.
play Ruination.
This is, yeah, so he just played another unit, so I killed the Sentry plus. So I played my Assassin. I attacked with the Assassins just to pass my turn. And at some point he played something else, so I played Ruination. And at the point where it's already like turn 10, he already lost, right? I have Karma, I can heal off whatever he puts on the board. It doesn't matter what he plays, I can heal it off. I took this screenshot just because the fact that he actually passed with 10 mana plus 3 spell mana, while I could play my Rekindler. Why did I take a screenshot of this? Rekindler gives me back Karma that is leveled, but the problem is he could have, like, you have to understand the matchups and you have to think about what cards he could have. He could have Harsh Winds and Reckoning. So if I play Rekindler, I'm going to 0 mana. He can play Harsh Winds, and then a Reckoning kills our entire board, and we have 0 mana to respond. So actually playing Rekindler here is... It could be considered okay because he loses 2 cards and he only would have only 1 card in his hand. But the value of Karma in a Spooky Karma deck is pretty high. So like risking to lose a Karma while we do not need to play the aggressive play with just putting it down this turn, we can just put it down next turn and still have mana to like heal off and do plays. So what I did is I actually passed instead of playing anything here because there's no need. As well as the fact that like he passed with 13 mana, so he burns mana and he doesn't get to play anything either. And our current state of the board is good. Like we're not dying, right? We have a healer that even if we want to trade this, it heals us. Yes, Hikahash wins, but we could still like have other means, other spells to answer. So we should be still good. Thank you for the raid. Welcome everyone. So yeah, I'm gonna move to the next picture. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, welcome everyone. Thank you for the raid again. I'm just doing a group coaching session. I'm just like talking to people, giving some advice and stuff like that. So what I said about Ash Sejuani, another example. I literally have Thresh on the board and that's it. What happened here on this turn, I really have to explain this. He had Avarosan, the 6-1, and Ash on the board. I had exactly 9 mana. The opponent played a Yeti. It's turn 7, so he has 7 mana. I had 7 mana plus 2 spell mana. He played Yeti. And actually passed. Like, I could play my Rekindler, put another unit down, and everything. But the thing is, even if he would attack with these 4 units, yes, Ash would freeze Thresh. This would kill Thresh. I would still be able to defend here. I would be taking essentially 10 damage. So it
Oh wow.
could have
A
been
new
a
follower.
situation
Thank you.
where we could have considered actually playing Ruination just for these 4 units. But considering the fact that he had 7 mana and he played a Yeti to start off, he still had 6 mana left. And I was like, okay, like in other scenarios, people will probably not play Sejuani here, but you have to remember there's too many players that just expand so hard and do misplays like this when Ruination just wins you the game, and this was GG at this point. I played again versus the same guy? Oh no. Okay, there we go. Okay. So that's it about Spooky Karma. So yeah, it's pretty much just like in a control deck you just have to try and get value from, you have to really consider the utilizing the value of passing, because in most scenarios you can get opponent either extending too hard on the board, where your Withering Veil or Ruination could give you so much more value. It will just lead to, like, passing is something that control decks should be utilizing, while aggressive decks should not be utilizing as much. And in a Spooky Karma, it's definitely a deck to consider taking damage to your Nexus, as well as the fact that you want to pass your turn sometimes. Here I'm playing a really weird of a deck. You guys get really confused what I'm doing. Just a million spells and Mind Meld and Elusives, right? The thing here is I could pass because my opponent has 3 more mana than I do, and he could burn 3 mana.
Oh wow.
But
New follower.
a really important
Thank
thing
you.
to consider, what do I want to pass or not? A really, really important thing is state of the board. Okay, when you look at our Nexus HP, it's pretty much the same. Okay, doesn't matter. We have a lot of cards, he has a lot of cards. The state of the board is a problem though. If we do not use 2 spells, this doesn't create a unit. We just have this card that we do not usually want to block with, and we just have 1 elusive unit that we prefer to just attack face and not block. So the thing is, we have a million spells, right? And we have only 1 unit. And if we are not blocking Zed, if we pass and he passes back and we just keep passing and he just attacks with Zed every turn, I have no units blocking Zed. Zed will level up and I'm in problems, right? So I cannot pass if currently on the board he has more units than I do, is just a not good situation. So I definitely need to play my 5-drop elusive unit no matter what here. Like, I would definitely be playing him either way probably, because the only one consideration not to play him is because of Guardian. So I can actually use it on the unit because I do not have another unit. So I can draw a card and potentially draw another unit or something like that. The problem is if I like if I would consider playing the Guardian to draw a card, the problem is I cannot play the unit this turn, right? I could potentially play it next turn, yes, and I would still be at 3 mana, would be mana efficient, but I'd rather play the unit, develop, and like next turn, even if I draw a unit, I can still play Guardian and play the unit as well. I want to sort of have a unit on board, like because the situation on the board, he's pressuring me more than I'm pressuring him. Okay, this is gonna be pretty retarded, but later on in the game, I had 10 mana, right? I had 9 mana plus 1 spell mana. I do have Mind Meld, which is pretty much winning me the game. If I play Mind Meld, it gives all of my units like 8 attack and 8 HP. This is a very spell heavy deck, right? I could play leveled up Elysian, but it doesn't win me the game. It helps me a little bit, but not as much. While Mind Meld just completely wins me the game. But I do not want to open with Mind Meld, just because of the fact that like I'm playing versus Ionia. I have to look at what I'm playing against. He has Ionia, he probably has Deny. So I started off with just using other stuff that could potentially make him respond, right? So I started off with this onto the Z, which I was hoping he'd protect potentially. Like maybe he responds, maybe he spends mana so he doesn't have enough mana to deny or something like that. I don't know why, but the opponent actually played deny to keep Zed alive. I guess he just didn't expect me to use Mind Meld. But yeah, so what happened is I played that, and then after I played another spell, another thing just to pass my turn, or I think I played the 2-drop. Yeah, I played the 2-drop because even after playing the 2-drop, I can play even the Ghost and just soft pass again. Just use as much resources so the opponent can potentially use his resources to the point where he does have mana to deny, or actually spends a deny for something like this, so our Mind Meld can win us the game. And he played the 6-drop, and now he has no mana. I just played Mind Meld and won the game. It's pretty cheesy of a game. It was a pretty cheesy game, but it's a good example to take consideration of like just using low mana cards, low mana units or spells just to potentially make your opponent lose mana. Just use mana on something random so then you can play what you actually want to play, right? So yeah, did that make sense? Just somebody confirm.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So yeah, sometimes you wanna sort of pass your turn either by, you have many ways, right? Soft passing is something that you usually use a burst spell, so you pass, so the opponent plays something. But if it's a burst spell, sometimes he's not gonna do anything sometimes and just pass back because he understands that you want to soft pass to make him play something. But that is not the only way you do this. One way of doing it is, for example, having either an elusive unit. Okay, let me switch to my game right now. Let me open up Legend of Runeterra. 1 second. Let me stop screaming this and switch to my game. I'm gonna give you another example of just passing your turn to make your opponent play something, so you sort of bait him out, because baiting your opponent out is something that is really important to remember. So stuff with which you can pass your turn. by basically attacking. So you can attack with your aristocrat, you can attack with your unit that he doesn't want to block, such as the Curse Keeper. So for example, you can attack with Curse Keeper, because your opponent will most likely not want to defend with it. Wait, why did my game... Hello? Do you guys see my game okay?
Yep.
Okay. It doesn't show up on the stream properly. For no reason at all.
No, we can see it perfect.
No, on the stream it doesn't work, like on the Twitch.
Yes,
I don't know what's happening, dude. I'm gonna go crazy. Game capture. Yes, please. Let's Frontera. Yes, please. Look for game capture. Just give me 1 sec. Sorry, guys. Cool, it doesn't capture my game. Okay, let me exit and go back into the game. I don't know what's happening, seriously. I'm sorry, guys. I'm really sorry, I don't know. Okay, I'm going back to the game. But yeah, basically, I'm gonna talk it out. So you can have your units that he doesn't want to block, or an elusive unit that he cannot block. So if you attack with those, you're basically passing your turn. So potentially the opponent plays something, and then you can respond to whatever he plays. And that's something to always consider. The second thing how you can pass your turn is just playing a spell or a unit that costs either 1 or 2 mana, so it keeps a lot of your other options available to you. So for example, as we said, playing a Noxus 1-drop such as Saboteur, or playing the Precious Pet, so you can still have a lot of mana left to play something else as well. So that is a second way to pass your turn, to make your opponent play something, so that you can then respond to whatever he plays. Right? Makes sense. So one last thing that I really like to do in some games, I freaking love it. If we're playing, for example, an Endure deck, and the opponent is actually expanding on the board, I really like to use a spell, but not completely use it, just put it so the opponent can see it on the board. So make him think that you have a Ruination even though you do not have it. Just put it on the board and pull it back, and that's it. Like, sometimes try to bait your opponent into thinking you might have something even though you do not have it. For example, you might have Glimpse, and Glimpse doesn't help you in any way, but it makes your opponent think that you might have something. And then later on, turn after, you can actually keep your mana open, so that the opponent is still thinking that you might have it, and just basically passing your turn with the Daehondir deck that way, so that you actually can draw a Daehondir and win your game or something like that. So yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much, I think, everything about that I was talking about. The only thing that I didn't mention is like, so we talked about open attacking or developing, playing or passing. One more thing that is very important is attack positioning. And that's something that is used in many decks. Okay, first, for example, in Endure decks, if you attack with whatever first, you always have to put Kalista last to attack. Because if the allies die before him, he can level up before he attacks. So he can do 1 extra damage from his level up condition. So Kalista, pretty straightforward, easy example. Second, really easy example, Lucian. If your units die, you can level him up, blah blah blah. pretty simple as well. Um, Another thing you have to always remember is units that heal the opponent. For example, the Thorny Toad from Deep that we all hate and love, or depending on which kind of a player you are. Remembering to hook it last if it's gonna potentially die, so like you can, or hook it first. Like if your opponent is on like 19 HP, hook it first so you kill it. He heals to 20, and then you can deal more damage to his face. Or hook it last if you can do lethal damage before actually killing it. It's pretty straightforward stuff that you probably guys know. I'm just covering all the bases, all the things that should be considered. Um, Sometimes you get into some situations where you
I'm
want.
sorry, what about overwhelm units?
Okay, so with overwhelm units, um, I really like the Dejo Endure deck where you have the Caretaker because you can actually use your Dejo Endure and Caretaker to set up a crazy aggressive attack, having your saplings hook the units that have high HP, so Dejo Endure can only get blocked versus a low HP unit and create a crazy aggressive attack. When talking about Overwhelm, you always try to remember, for example, let's say my Elusive Darius deck, right? We have the 4-drop Rider, right? When he has Allegiance, which happens almost every time, he's gonna be a 5/4 Overwhelm, right? He's gonna have 4 HP and 5 attack. I had a situation where the opponent was at 0 mana, so he has nothing to respond to my attack. And what happened is, Basilisk was defended by another unit that has 3 HP, but had like 4 or 5 attacks, so it would kill the rider when attacking. One trick that you have to remember and understand, using damage spells such as Fervor or... Okay, I have no other spell here. Okay, using a damage spell onto the opponent unit that is defending versus the unit that has Overwhelm from your side of the board, have the amount of damage that you deal to that unit, the amount of damage more you're dealing to the Nexus. So if you do 3 damage to the unit, it's same as doing 3 damage to the Nexus, because your Overwhelm unit is going throughout that defense. But I had situation where Rider was attacking, and Rider had 4 HP, and the defending unit had 3 HP. So instead of using Fervor to get like value from the Rider before he dies, so I use Fervor from him, 3 damage to the Nexus, and then he does Overwhelm damage and kills the unit, whatever. I used Fervor from the Rider to the blocking unit. The unit that was blocking died, and Rider would do the 5 damage because he has Overwhelm, and he would stay alive at 1 HP. So you have to always remember, like, trying to get the maximum value from Overwhelm units. Same as, for example, a stun spell. Stun completely removes a unit from combat. So if you have an Overwhelm unit attacking, every damage goes directly to the Nexus. Because the blocker is stunned. He's removed from combat. There is no more unit blocking the unit that's attacking. So this Rider doesn't just do 5 damage with Overwhelm. He does 7 damage with Maneuver. Because he's 5 plus 2 and there's no blocker because of the stun. So it can create a pretty crazy attack just from this spell. So you want to get the maximum value from your Overwhelm units as the most possible. And you always have to remember, like... But, like, attack positioning, if you're attacked with the Overwhelm unit, it doesn't matter, because the only thing that matters is the stuff that has extra effects. Things like healing, things like less breath, things like the Neverglade Collector from units dying. So you want to kill the stuff that either has the effect first or last always, and put the champions that can level up always last attacking, so they can actually get leveled up before attack or stuff like that. Same as like Darius, right? You want to deal damage with your units first, and then Darius attacks last, so he can level up. This is pretty simple, right? That's pretty much it. That's all the theory that I was thinking about talking about. If you guys have any questions, I'll answer those questions, and then I'll start playing a couple of games, and that's it. Anyone has any question, ideas, suggestions, anything?
I think we're good.
Everybody's good? Okay.
Yeah, I think that was good for now.
Okay. So I'm gonna go into one game with my Darius deck, just because of the fact that like in this deck I have overwhelm units and attack positioning matters in this deck. So I feel like this is a good deck to like use as an example, because of the fact that like it uses a lot of attack positioning stuff like that. Oh, it's Demacia with Shadow Isles, so it's gonna have a lot of units, right? We don't want any spells, we just want units, we want curve. The Rider is okay, we just want the early game presence as well.
You're not streaming on Discord. I don't know if we're supposed to be watching you on Twitch right now, but
Oh, it's fine, because I'm like the... Oh, did I stop it? Oh, yikes. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know, I'm just being stupid today.
it's a good way to like get more Twitch viewers, right?
True. True, but it's okay. It's okay. This is fine. Okay, this is a bit of a awkward situation, but like potentially using Elixir here seems like okay value if he trades with Elise. And if he defends with Aristocrat, I'm still fine with that. Like the Demon list is great value that he can create, but I'm fine without that as well. Dude, on Twitch, the game stopped again. I don't know what's up.
So when you stream on both, it fucks up? Is that
No.
what's happening?
Like, you guys can see it right now,
Yeah.
but people on Twitch, like, it just stopped. He has the 1-1 board and that's it.
That's what I'm saying. Does it crash when, like, does it crash one of them when you're streaming on both? That's what it sounds like.
It never happened before, this is the first time.
Yeah, I know.
Wait. I have no clue. Either way, I could use Elixir here to kill Elise, but then I cannot use the effect from the Demon list, so I think killing Elise is a misplay here. Oh. I'll just stop with the recording and stuff, and yeah, I'm just gonna stream it on the Discord and that's it, I guess, because of this issue.